And I'm back. Welcome back to my channel, RJB Starcraft Cast, where I will bring you hopefully amazing Starcraft games. And I just found out that my OBS isn't recording the game sound, so that's something I'm gonna have to fix. Not sure how, but I don't know. You give me something to do while the game is loading up. But anyway, let's get things started. I hope you can hear the game. Hope you can hear the sound. No idea what's going on. I'll quickly look into the settings while I explain to players. The blue Protoss is SSX'POD. No idea who the guy is, but he looked promising. Wait, you're gonna have to hide that one too. He looked promising playing the Protoss, and he's up against Adril LF23, which is one of the names used by LovelyRabbit, and pretty much everyone knows LovelyRabbit by now. Either by the name Yang Shige Sonyun or the name Toki, but for most Westerners, specifically for those from the UGL days and the SCW days, he's known as LovelyRabbit, and he is here playing the Zerg on the top middle of the map. There's a spot on right next to him. And yeah, I'm gonna try to fix my sound real quick because it's annoying that my sound isn't working here. And it's still not picking up any sound, miraculously. Oh, now it is picking up sound. Alright, so I've got that one fixed. I didn't miss too much. And I hope you don't mind that I fixed that while recording. And SSX doing a pretty good job of denying this hash from going down here on the front. Still, alright. Eventually the drone, with seemingly minimal micro, manages to get itself down there. So the front has been walled off, more or less. But very early, Zealot and a probe are on the way. The choke did finish, but he is just moving that egg up to the side, so it blocks off the Zealot from entering the base, which was the entire point of placing these two hatcheries right next to each other, just like this. You can move the larva over to the side, like he's doing right here. He's manually doing that. It's a little trick you can do. Then you make the egg inside of the entrance, and you block the entrance off. And it pretty much effectively walls off the opponent from getting access into your base and killing that sunken there. At most, the Protoss can get a wall up here with cannons and kill these two hatcheries, but what I've seen from Toki, from LovelyRabbit, is that he starts making sunkens on the bottom side here. But anyway, let's get to this fight here, because he managed to get those 6 circlings into the base of SSX'POD. SSX'POD is now going to lose a couple of probes. I count 3 probes down and dead. But fortunate for SSX'POD, good pickup for Rabbit there. SSX'POD decided against going for a +1 Nexus, but he already has an Expo up and running here on the side. It's a very, very early robotic facility, given that he's gone for 2 gateways and, well, yeah, let's just say it's a very early robotic facility. And a very early robotic facility is going to catch LovelyRabbit off guard. I'm calling it now, because LovelyRabbit has only scouted this base here and does not have the information that this here exists. Also a very good pickup with that Dragoon killing the Overlord inside of the base of SSX'POD. That will also slow Rabbit down quite a bit, because he was planning on... He queued up those 2 Overlords just right after they died. He even overspent an Overlord, because now he's got 3 Overlords on the way, so he'll have a huge room of supply to fill up. And it slowed him down quite a bit. Not too much, but quite a bit. And every single little thing that slows an opponent down is always a little advantage gained. So that was pretty much necessary for SSX'POD to pick up that Overlord to equalize the 3 probes that he lost and slow Toki down in return for Toki trying to slow down SSX'POD. And I'm sorry for not saying LovelyRabbit. It's just too long compared to Toki. Toki is a very quick thing to say compared to Rabbit or LovelyRabbit. Robotic facility, robotic support bay already on the way. Shuttle is just finished up as I clicked on it. So get going. He placed the zealots here on the side so you can start lifting him over with the shuttle, which he is going to do right now while this Reaver is not making a Reaver just yet. He can afford it. There's the Reaver. And it looks like Toki still doesn't... Oh, he has a Hydralisk out there. But it's only a single Hydralisk, and 2 more Hydralisks are on the way. And this is happening completely out of vision. You can land them there on the low ground. He is not loading them there. Not sure why. Right now he's going to load them. And it's happening just inside... No, just outside of the vision that Toby has. And now they're walking into vision. There's 3 Hydralisks, and there the remainder of the shuttles are being lifted over. The Reaver is about to finish up here on the bottom side. Because he waited a little bit too long, cannot synchronize all that nicely. Like he would have been able to fly the Reaver in right about now if he hadn't hung it over there. But it's working out quite nicely. He's doing a lot of damage here, distracting Toki pretty hard, forcing Toki to invest into a lot of Hydralisks, while also losing a lot of Hydralisks to those Zealots at the same time. Also about 5 or 6 drones as well. He's going to lose a couple more drones there. Now the Reaver is... Both Reavers... Wait. One Reaver's been picked up, the other one is still on the way. I thought this one finished in the meantime, but it didn't. So once again, a little of a slip up on my part. But it is flying in right now. Units are being balled up here. Probe is moving out into the middle. It's going to start a pylon there for a cannon push on that hatchery in the front. And the shuttle flies back, retreats, manages to survive. Toki using this Overlord there greatly to his advantage. Now he's going for a counterattack, or he's going to try and snipe that shuttle somewhere over the map. He's going to go for the middle, try to deny the pylon, try to deny the cannon in the middle. That's a great move. SSX'POD did not have the units, sufficient amount of units to facilitate getting that little pylon or cannon block up on the middle there. Now he's hunting for that shuttle. He knows the shuttle is going to come from the right side, but the shuttle can see those Hydralisks moving while it's over on the hill there. So now he's going to be able to fly into the base unopposed, almost unopposed. He's going to have to drop both those Reavers on the low ground. Both Reavers get out. The first shot does. Hydralisks stay alive. He manages to drop the Reaver inside the range of the drones, but the drone's pulling away, and the drones... Ooh, that's a very, very, very close call for Toki there. Manages to keep all those drones alive, but now there are no Hydralisks inside the base. There are 8 Hydralisks on the way. 8 Hydralisks now finished up, but they're rallied away. So now he's going to get another chance to get some probe kills up. And another dud shot. So far, only dud shots on those drones. So that is an amazing bit of luck for Toki, that none of those Scarabs killed a single drone. Wound up killing only a couple of Hydralisks, 4 Hydralisks to be exact. Also not that great of a pickup, but the Reaver and the shuttle stayed alive. He did lose his Expo here. It got spotted by Toki. Toki knew something was up, so started scouting the map. Try and find that Expo, managed to find it, and now the Zealots are going out into the middle of the map trying to find those Hydralisks. He's got speed, he's got level 1 weapon upgrade, and he doesn't go for this round. Instead he just A moves in there. Now he's going to try to micro into them, splits them up. Hydralisks pulling those Zealots away. We'll unload those Reavers here in the front. Start an attack on the front here. Building up more gateways. Switching it up with Dragoons and Zealots into the mix. Now he's rebuilding his robotics inside of space. He got Dragoon range on the way as well. Zealots here fighting those Hydralisks that are coming in from behind. But the numbers are so greatly in advantage of SSX'POD here on the middle that all those Hydralisks are pretty much going down. He pulls them back, tries to draw the Zealots away, buy himself more time for those Mulas. But the Mulas are now coming in and going to take care of that shuttle first. But the Reavers cannot be picked up. Now he goes for the Reavers. Reavers will be slowed down. Now the Zealots are going to come in. And I suspect, yeah, the hatchery went down there, but Toki has enough units here to take care of those Zealots. Not the Zealots though. He's definitely going to kill them. Oh, he's going straight for... He's just going to throw away those Zealots, try to get that system down there at the middle, at the base. Maybe get some Hydralisks as well, but the system will definitely stay alive, because there's so many units there taking care of those Zealots, and the game is now honestly greatly in favor of Toki, unless he can manage to make this drop hit here. Toki's not focused on that one. Toki's instead focused on trying to take down the front here. Focusing on that cannon, but losing a couple of his mulas in the process of taking down that cannon. Now forced to hang over on the wall there. Shibboleth is preparing itself. Storm Upgrade has not yet finished. Storm Upgrade is 4 seconds away from finishing. Once it finishes, he's going to fly that one in and try to get a storm off on those drones. And based on the positioning of these Hydralisks, I think he can get that hit off. Oh, he responds. Oh, he moves away. Toki did not respond to that one that well. He didn't see it, and he's going to lose all of his drones at a pretty bad time. Templar stays alive, Fenric is pulled back. Distraction that was sent to the front successfully did his job. Lurkers are on the way. He's making 6 more drones. Ooh, his minerals are so low that he can only afford about a handful of new drones there. He's now cancelling a hatchery to make more drones. He's keeping all of those hatcheries alive. But this gives SSX'POD a great comeback shot into the game because he is only on a single nexus. And when you're on a single nexus and you fail to do any significant amounts of damage to the Zerg, that Zerg is going to skyrocket right past you once the Zerg has a significant amount of hatcheries up on the map. And he prevented that situation from happening or occurring. Now it's 38 to 24. Toki will soon ramp up. As long as he can keep SSX'POD out of his base with these lurkers here, and an observatory is on the way, he's really cutting it really close, in my opinion. Like, not going for the +1 nexus to boost his economy is going to turn this into a very slow game for SSX'POD. But Rabbit is hanging in there quite well, thanks to that low economy build from SSX'POD, because it's harder for SSX'POD to mass up all that quickly or diversify his tech as quick as he could or needs to. So there's a downside to every single upside, really. Because the upside to this build is he can be very aggressive very early on into the game because he's not spending minerals on probes. But in return for that, he's not getting any extra income past the 6 to 7 minute phase. Instead, he's actually going to be losing significant amounts of income. He's already pumping probes for pretty much the entire game, and he's only on 43 probes so far, thanks to that single nexus, and it's going to be taking at least another 4 or 5 minutes before he hits that 60-70 probe mark, which he definitely needs. Goes in, but Lurkers again holding him back. And Toki is pretty much recovered entirely from that storm drop that hit him really hard. So already making a Greater Spire. So once that Greater Spire finishes, it's going to be even harder for SSX'POD to break into that base. And he's preparing himself to break into that base because here he is making a lot of robotic facilities. He's even adding on a robotic support bait that you lost earlier, so you can start that Reaver push. And another drop has been, oh, it's actually the same shuttle that he saved from earlier. That's quite smart, just saving the shuttle, but he gets spotted out. He doesn't focus on it, and the Templar unloads, but doesn't get a storm off. Yeah, it gets a storm off, but it doesn't really hit any of the drones. All of the drones were hotkey, all of the drones got pulled away. All the drones stay alive, income secured, 50 to 48 probes, and SSX still a little bit behind where I'd love to see him be, because he's still really small here. But he's building a lot of things in the middle, which does kind of offset the size of his base. Ooh, great shot on that observer. That is going to slow down the opportunity for SSX'POD to advance once again. And those Guardians, well, Mevalisks, are going to be turned into Guardians, and he already spread them before he's turning them into Guardians. Smart move. Toki really understands how to defend himself with Zerg. I think almost better than most other players do. He really optimizes his builds. Even the spacing of those Sunkens is really well thought out, because now his units can walk in between those Sunkens instead of having to bottleneck. Like when you place all your Sunkens right next to each other, very close to with no space in between, all your units are starting to bottleneck into very tight corners and very tight spots, which makes them very easy targets for Reaver's storms. And it makes it very hard to just defend yourself, because you cannot get all your units to deal damage. You get that situation from the movie 300, which is definitely not what you want, right? Oh, new observer is out on there, but Guardians have finished up, and SSX'POD decides against going in because he feels that this is a sticky situation. He feels that if he goes in right now, the game might turn around in favor of Toki, which it already is, because Toki is bigger than SSX'POD is. SSX'POD has to start ramping up really quickly. But again, only 56 probes. He's now adding on another Nexus and more Gazers. So we can start building a bigger base. But he's going to have to start hitting one of those drops on those drones there and deal a significant punch into the gut for Toki. If he fails to do that, I don't see SSX'POD making a win here. He's playing controlled, he's playing smart, but not smart enough, in my opinion. If you were to ask me, he's not playing smart enough. He's definitely unable to put any pressure on SSX'POD here. That is because he has been investing so much into those Dragoons and Zealots without really being able to utilize them all that well. So, actually, I was saying he's playing smart, but he's not playing smart at all. But he's playing with control, which can get you a long way. It can get you a long way if you play with control and good target selection. He's managing to push himself into that base just a little bit, cleared out a couple of those lurkers, cleared out about 7 seconds there as well. Now a drop is going to fly in with the help of Hallucination. Will Toki actually doesn't even focus, doesn't even manually click on the right one. Just happens that the right one was closest to that group of Hydralisks, so the drop ends up failing. He's going to have to wait for another drop to be finished up. It's going to take a little while because he's got a limited amount of robotic facilities focused on making shuttles. He's making Corsairs here though, so that will take a short time. There's a couple of Scorches there ready to throw themselves into the path of that shuttle that's going to be finishing up here. Templar on the way somewhere as well. A lot of Templars are on the way actually. But Toki has started ramping up his production capability here, adding on even more hatcheries and more drones being put here. It's gonna line them up nicely, put them into hatcheries. While this advancement at the front is happening here, Reaver walks himself into his death. The spread on these Guardians are doing an amazing job at killing most of these Dragoons. The Reavers do take down a couple of Lurkers, and Sun comes once again, pulling back. 74 probes now for SSX'POD. It took him almost 17 minutes. Yeah, it took him 17 minutes of non-stop probe pumping to get to this point here. And that's why you basically go for a +1 Nexus at some point, or even a +2 Nexus at some point. Because you want to get that economy up and running, and you want to stay ahead of the Zerg. And SSX'POD is definitely not ahead of the Zerg here. Zero pressure has been, pretty much after the 6-minute mark, there has been no pressure on Toki whatsoever, aside from the drop that hit him really hard. After that, the game has just been completely shut down by Toki. And SSX'POD not going for the right countermeasures, basically. He pretty much played right into what Toki wanted him to play into, which was mass Dragoons and Zealots into the front, which Toki shut down really well. Now he's being pressured in the front here, pulling those Reavers back to behind the cannons, ensuring that those Hydralisks that are standing there cannot enter the fray. It's harder for those Guardians to focus on the Reavers, and those Reavers are denying those Hydralisks there. A lot of Templars moving in. Turn 1 to the Archon, going to storm those Guardians as well. Toki balling up a huge amount of Hydralisks and Guardians here in the middle of his base. Rallying everything into the middle here, I assume. Just going to have to check. Did he rally everything up into the middle? So I really like the configuration of his base. The layout is, I really like it. There's a lot of space in between his hatcheries, so his units can walk in between his hatcheries up into the middle really easily. Frontal push is once again happening. Corsairs taking out his Guardians, but Guardians here on the side as well, going for SSX'POD space. We have to pull those Corsairs up to the side there. All the ground units here have been taken down. And another great storm happens. I missed the drop, but the drop, I barely missed the drop. Almost missed the drop, that's the way you say it. Guardians here dealing some damage. Gateways being hammered on. And this was a really bad timing for Toki to be losing his drones there. He's going to have to pull all of his drones off of his gas. Wait for more drones to finish up. And SSX'POD now finally has some leverage on Toki. But Toki has a huge mass. And he's moving out, or planning to move out right now. SSX'POD is going to have to land some amazing storms in order to slow Toki down. Toki decides against pushing for it. He decides against pushing out, even though he has a real good chance here. Although he cannot see the size of SSX'POD's production facilities, so it is understandable why he pulled back. an elected turtle, but he had just had an amazing shot. He had an amazing chance to take over the game. He could have just kept on pumping Hydralisks and Mass and send them out into the middle, ball them up, and send them into the base of SSX'POD and probably win the game. But he plans to be conservative. But you know, from in hindsight, but also from my perspective as a spectator, you have so much more information that the players themselves have. So it is, given his standpoint, because he hasn't seen SSX'POD, he hasn't seen anything beyond this point. For pretty much the entire game after he scouted the base with Uncertain, he has not seen anything but this. So it is very understandable why he'd stay in his base and elect the turtle, because he doesn't want to take any risks. But deciding to play conservative here is opening up the opportunity for SSX'POD to make another push into the base of Toki. 86 probes now against 87 drones. Toki's income is back up to par. But able to push himself in there. The Guardian spread, it takes little effort to spread your Guardians out like this, but the advantage it gives you is absolutely amazing because it takes more storms to kill your Guardians. It's just a really amazing thing to do. Reaver's trying to get in there. Reaver's walking into the deaths, not moving into those lurkers. Observer a little bit too far away. Corsair goes in. Corsair's going to get scored down by the Devourer. Support upgrades are quite nice. 2-1 upgrades for those units. 2-1-3 for those Dragoons. Hydralisks are on 1-2, but very soon to be on higher upgrades. They just started, really. And Toki taking his time, preparing himself for the big push out of the base. But his Reavers here are making that very hard. Templars in the mix as well. On fastest maps, Templar Storms are amazing because there are so many units bottling up into small corridors that your Templars absolutely get the most amazing time to shine. Whereas on normal maps, people tend to have them spread out just a little bit more. Same goes for the Reavers. Small bottleneck here. Very hard to move through. Pretty much going to have to rely on Guardians. Going to great spread here on the sides if he wants to push out. And he is spreading his guards out, but the guard number is not as high as it could have been. More Guardians being morphed here inside the base. He could have waited for those Guardians, sending them out a little bit too early. And another drop comes flying in. There's nothing in the path of that shuttle. He splits up the shuttle. He unloads. Templar gets shut off. Templar kills about 11 drones there, but most of the drones were pulled to safety. Toki is not in harm's way just yet. He's not out of harm's way. That's the saying, but I messed it up. He's still in harm's way. Let's put it like that. He's still in harm's way, but he managed to prevent most of the harm. Pusher in the front, very slowly commencing. Those Reavers with Reaver Scarab upgrade are taking down all of those ground forces without effort whatsoever. Guardians dodging the storm. Great dodge there. That will ensure that he can take down these Reavers here, and taking down those Reavers means that he can start sending out those Zerglings to take down the Reavers and the Dragoons that were still left behind there in the front. More Zerglings moving out. Those Guardians are absolutely wreaking havoc on those Dragoons and Reavers there, but there are too many Reavers and Dragoons here for these Zerglings to take care of. Eventually all the Zerglings do go down. And let's see if another drop is being made here. He's making shuttles. We've got Templars. More Reavers are on the way here on the middle as well. Shuttles as well. He starts to send in those Dragoons. Dragoons meeting those Guardians. The Guardians now here are going to hover on the hill here and focus on Dragoons trying to move into the middle, into that choke point here. Make it harder to get them to trip out, get them to take some damage before they enter the battle. And the SSX'POD very slowly pushing in, but more Guardians are morphing there in the back. He has to pull up a couple of Templars, but he loads the Templar up into the shuttle, loads an Archon in as well. And he's gonna split up 4 shuttles into groups of 2 and send them in from 2 directions at the same time. There's very little anti-air in the base for Toki. One shuttle comes in. There's nothing to intercept. Oh, he actually manages to intercept the right shuttle, but both of the Templars come out. And he kills 2 drones. Oh, he should have stormed on the other half there. Probably killed about 10 more if he had stormed the other side there. Wouldn't have made much of a difference because he still has 70 drones if he had lost 10 of there. Because I assume he has everything hotkeyed except for about 10 or so drones. But this is what I was fearing would happen. Too much time for Toki, too little pressure on Toki, and Toki managed to push himself out of his base into the middle and start threatening those robotic facilities on the middle that were pretty much the backbone of SSX'POD's gameplay. SSX'POD Dragoons are walking into their deaths because they're running into the middle. Now a shuttle is moving out, but there's nothing inside of the shuttle, so nothing to fear there. And I honestly think that this is the game, because every single unit that's trying to help the middle and trying to save these robotic facilities is being met by these guardians up on the hill there. They do get return fire, but it slows down everything that SSX'POD is sent into the middle. And by now, Rabbit has a huge mass balled up here in the middle, and he keeps on sending more and more out into the middle, balling up that huge mass. And SSX'POD is going to have to add on a lot of robotic facilities inside of his base very, very quickly, because his gas is low. He's making so many dragoons at the same time. He does have a lot of gateways, but he definitely does not have enough to match Toki's ability to produce, because look here, 12, 8, 20, 23, 24 hatcheries inside of his base. He's got pretty much all the upgrades on the way or finished up. 2-3 there, 2-2 there, and he's on 3-2-3. So pretty much on the same upgrades for both teams, both players. And now Toki pushing in, SSX'POD feeling the pressure. SSX'POD unable to, doesn't have the Templars in the mix, just Dragoons. He calls it GG, and I gotta admit, SSX'POD played pretty well at a couple of points into this game, but made some huge mistakes in the early game, not going for the right choices to keep the pressure up on Toki after that very strong early start. And I also have to admit that those Scarabs in the very, very early game, on the second drop, with those 2 Reavers he sent into the base of Toki, if either of those Scarabs had killed any drones whatsoever that early into the game, it would have been a win for SSX'POD, because Toki would not have been able to get his static defense up the way he did on the front with those lurkers and the Sunkens, and SSX'POD's game plan would have definitely worked. But he showed an inability to be flexible, adapt, and read the situation correctly. Also have to add that I have more information from my spectator or replay watching perspective, but nonetheless, he failed to recognize the correct path and build order, the correct options, to take advantage of Toki's weaknesses, specifically after that one drop. It killed a lot of drones. He should have really mixed it up, stuck to the drop, stuck to shuttle play, instead of trying to force himself in through the front, where there were a lot of lurkers and Sunkens that you realistically couldn't break through. So SSX'POD played right into Toki's hands there, instead of diversifying and branching off into a more effective path. And now I'm rambling, going on a little bit too long with the same topic. But I hope you enjoyed this game. There was a little bit of lack of action here and there, but yeah, I enjoyed the game. Not as much as I thought I would, because I scanned this replay before I watch it, which is something I always do now. I scan replays for APM and EAPM, and I know that APM and EAPM are not necessarily indicators of a player's skill level, but I want to have like a specific benchmark, a bar, so to speak, of a level of play that I want to cast. So I always scan a replay for, APM, EAPM, and SSX'POD had a really high EAPM combined with his APM, so I assumed that this guy at least had a certain baseline of skill, which he did. He had a certain baseline of skill, but he showed a lack of 1-versus-1 expertise, so to speak, that would allow him to match up to Toki's level of play. Anyway, that's it for this video, and have a good day.